Hey there, welcome to Broadcast to Post. I'm Jeff Sengfield, CTO at Keycode Media. This is the show where we interview leaders and experts in the AV, broadcast, and post-production spaces. We're giving you the inside tips to grow your media workflows and business today. Welcome to this episode of Keycode Media's Broadcast to Post, Adobe On-Prem post-production, building a hybrid facility workflow. This is part 2 of our Adobe post-production workflow series. Earlier this week, we focused on cloud solutions for Adobe customers, but we're going to jump in with on-prem now. All right, let's get to it. Houston, we got a problem. The traditional come to the office doesn't seem to be coming back anymore. Post-production workflow, shared storage, securely connected to editing workstations in an office, poof, it's gone. So now we have some people returning to the office and some people who prefer to keep editing remotely. A hybrid workflow is now absolutely necessary to help us securely collaborate on projects. Luckily, we've got some smart folks on the program today, Carl Soule from Adobe and Bayon Shahidi from EditShare. We've all been laser focused on these challenges and to find new products, methods, and integration solutions that solve the issues for collaborative teams, whether it's 5 people or 500. Before we get to our live panel discussion, we're going to spend the first part of this with a demonstration. We're going to feature Adobe and EditShare. In our opinion, these are the top companies that are solving these challenges today. Keycode Media, we've also got experienced engineers on staff that will help walk you through the right solution and optimize your work from anywhere workflow for your team. We're going to be right back with our workflow and then into the panel.
Keycode Media. AV broadcast post-production. Keeping you ahead in technology.
All right, we got everyone here. So Bayon, let's get started.
No problem. Let me just share my screen for you guys. Thank you, guys. Here we are on a workstation, that's on premise with a local network connection to the EditShare storage environment. And basically what we'll be able to do is do a on-premise high-res online performance editorial directly from the EditShare storage and import all of our projects directly into Premiere. However, I think what I want to show first is the ability to collaborate with people external, right? And create, let's say, produce a cuts list, a collection of assets, apply metadata markers to clips and things like that, so that all of that sort of pre-decision can be made before the actual craft editorial begins. Yeah? That's done in a web browser, which can happen from any location, anywhere in the world, anyone with an internet connection, with a mobile device, any device with a browser, really, right? And the application there is called Airflow. So the media asset management package from EditShare is called Flow. We have this Airflow application here that will let you sign in with your username. And straight away, you'll be able to see on the left-hand side a collection of storage locations, which when selected will list any clips available to you. And that's now giving you proxy previews of all of your assets. It's giving you the embedded metadata information or the embedded clip metadata information, as well as any custom metadata information that you might add as part of a template. And you can see here, I've got this cool footage from a project called Scuba that I was lucky enough to be part of that was based on the partnership between tourism in Australia and the Uber company sending a submarine to look at the Great Barrier Reef, right? Very cool. It's a lot of fun. So they'd send a helicopter to pick you up from the mainland, take you out to the Heron Island, which is what we're looking at here, and then take you on a submarine tour underwater, right? And that's all a $2,000 ride share, yeah? Now, you can see I've got some metadata assigned to these projects, right? So there's camera, morning, noon, or night, or shoot location. And you can see I've got the shoot location on this one set to Great Barrier Reef. This one was, shot at noon, and the camera was a Canon. Additionally, I can come along and I can look at any particular moment and I can say, okay, I'm gonna create a marker there. And you can see I've got additional custom metadata on that marker. So I can say in this location, there was a bird, for example, right? I can scroll over to another location, and have a look and say, oh, look, at that point, if I create a marker there, I can say in this location, there was some stingrays. And all of that information, all that custom metadata is searchable at any time in the system. And you'll see that in a moment when I'll pass it to Carl and he can search for that information and find those clips. Now, what else can we do? You can see we have a Flow project here on the left-hand side. And that allows us to create a project that is unique to Flow that can be pulled into various other NLE applications, such as Premiere, such as Resolve, such as Media Composer. But today we're working with Premiere here. All right, and I want to show you how quick and easy it is to grab any of these assets and throw them into our project here. So you can see you can add them one by one. Okay, if I then look at the project, it should list those assets for me, as you can see. And from those assets, I can then create a sequence which will allow me to load up that sequence and drop them into the sequence. And now I'm creating a cuts list quickly and easily right here in my web browser. You can see if I can scroll through that timeline now and see that I've cut those clips together simply and easily right here in the web interface. Now that took all of 30 seconds. And as far as the remote producer is concerned, their job is complete and they can now take a step back and let the craft editor pick that up back on site. So let's do that now. So I'm going to minimize my web browser and I'm back at my Windows workstation or my Mac workstation, it doesn't matter. And I can open up my craft editing tool, which in this case is Adobe Premiere. And the first thing you're going to see on the left-hand side here is we have a big panel called the Edit Share Flow Premiere panel. It's an extension that you can install right here. You can see it's loaded up Edit Share, and it gives you the ability to sign in as your own user. It has the ability to load the custom Scuba metadata template, okay? And then we can search for any of that information that we put in there before. For example, so if I search for bird, you can see that I find that exact marker on that exact clip that loads that information. Additionally, if we come over to projects here, I can come down and I can find that same project we were working on that was called Scuba. So I'm going to show the Scuba project here. And you can see it's got all of the assets in it. I can load up any of the assets and preview those proxies. I can create new markers in these locations, for example. And when I highlight that marker, I can then come in here and I can modify that information. And I can say, all right, at this point, it's also stingrays in this clip. So you can see all of the abilities that we have in the Airflow web interface, we also have directly within the Premiere application using the Flow Premiere panel. Now let's take it a step further again. We come back to Scuba, all right? I can highlight any clip and I can hit the import button. And that will allow me to bring in that asset directly into Premiere. And here's sort of the special source of the Premiere panel. It's asking me in our media manager here, our import manager, what do we want our high-res asset to be? And what do we want our proxy asset to be? So we're going to detect all the various versions you have of an individual clip and allow you to assign them to the asset that's going to enter the Premiere project. So in this case, I only have one copy of the high-res asset, but I want you to imagine, let's say you've got a mezzanine workflow, right? You've got a H.264, you've got a 4K asset, you can switch them in and out at any time, right? Additionally, over here on the right-hand side, I've got options for the proxy. Do I want to stream the proxy file? Do I want to download the proxy file so I can do offline editorial? Or do I want to use a proxy file from a different location? There's a variety of options here based on what you're trying to do. Because I'm on site, on premise, doing editorial with my local storage, I have the ability to stream both my high-res asset and my proxy asset, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the import button there. You can see it's linked both of those assets together under the one file in the Premiere project. If I look at the properties of this asset, you can see we've got both a path to a high-res asset and a path to a proxy asset, right? And when we load that up, then we've got all of the embedded clip metadata markers, as well as the custom metadata markers that are available to us, as well as the ability to toggle between the high resolution asset and the proxy asset. If we have a look at asset here, I can switch between the high res and the proxy asset at will. Now let's take that another step further. We'll come back into the project and we've got the sequence here, all right? I can right click on that sequence and I can import that sequence directly into the Premiere project. And you can see now it's giving me a variety of different options for all of the different assets involved in that project. If I select an option here like Flow Proxy Download, I can apply that to all of my clips and then I can hit import and it's going to bring in all of those assets, link them all together and bring in the sequence and all of the metadata and markers on it. All right. And you can see that it's now built that timeline automatically for me, allowing me to do editorial on the project that was created directly inside of Airflow. Now, at any point, if I wanted to relink one of the assets inside of this, all I have to do is hit this relink button. Right? If I go ahead and hit that relink button, you can see it brings me back to the import manager and it will allow me to switch out the asset that is linked in the Premiere project at will. I mean, this is how you might do that mezzanine workflow. You're doing editorial in HD, all right? But then you want to output or conform to your 4K assets. And that's when you can switch it out at this point before you do that step, all right? Additionally, if I want to, I can upload the entire timeline back into Flow. So I can share to a new Flow project. I can select any other Flow project and type in a new name for a new sequence saying this is the Scuba Edit, for example, all right? And it will allow me to take that timeline, take any of the markers and upload that back into Flow for another user to pick up and collect and do editorial elsewhere. Additionally, I do have the option to publish a flattened file to the storage. You can see I can pick one of my storage locations. I can pick a quality preset, and you can add as many presets as you like there. That's based on Adobe Media Encoder on your local workstation. So it's going to use any presets that are available at a media encoder or any presets that you create. And then you can just give the file a name right here. So you can see there's a lot of flexibility and variety and options to how you can utilize the assets in Flow on the EditShare storage directly inside of Premiere as an application without leaving Premiere as an application. But additionally, what this tool then enables for us is remote editorial, right? You can be totally offsite and use the same Premiere panel and import the same sequences and the same projects and the same assets. The only difference being you won't have the high-res asset available because you're offsite. You'll be pulling proxies in. And that's where I'm going to pass over to Carl because he's going to act as the remote editor right now and show you the same thing.
All right, thanks, Bayan. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And first off, I want to stress that I can be in the office with Bayan and be using the EditShare in the exact same way that he's using it on premise. It is on-premise storage, so I can have all the same benefits. I can use the same panel. But we know we live in times when things happen. You know, more and more people have days during the week they have to work from home. We're dealing with, you know, the chaos of the world at the moment. And so if I am in a situation where I have to work remotely, that's not a problem. I can use the exact same panel. In fact, I'm in the same project here called Scuba. And I can see the sequence that Bayan's been editing. I can see some of the different clips. And in fact, I've already imported a couple of the clips here into my project, or just one of the clips, or two of the clips, sorry. I've got two of the different clips here, and I've taken the Heron Island clip and actually in Premiere, I ran a special function called Scene Edit Detection, which is found in this menu right here. And by doing this, I could easily create cut downs of this pre-edited footage so that if we're doing a 30-second promo or a 60-second promo out of this 5 minutes, I have the ability to very quickly start working this way. Now, I'm going to go ahead and import another one of the clips here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the drone highlights clip here. And I'm going to go ahead and choose to import this into the project as well. And here's where you'll see the difference. I don't have access to the high-res media. So in this situation, I can see the proxy, I can download and import and edit with the proxy, and I can even be cutting into the same sequence that Bayan was cutting with. It's just when I upload my changes, he'll be able to toggle on and off and link to both the proxy and the high-res files. But it doesn't limit me as an editor in any way. I can continue to work. And in fact, right now, I don't have Bayan's sequence, so I can go ahead and right-click on his sequence and choose to import the sequence. Here's another thing that's actually really cool about the way EditShare works. I've already gotten a few of these clips are already down in my project file. You can see them down in the project panel. This is just telling me these are what the files are. I can hit import to this. I don't have to worry about duplicate clips. It is actually going to recognize that some of these clips already live inside the project. I already have the proxies imported, and it doesn't create any duplicates. It just pulls down what it needs to pull down. And now I've got access to Bayan's sequence. I'm going to do a little trick in Premiere here called pancake editing. And I've already identified a couple of selects that I want to do here that we want to add to Bayan's sequence. You know, maybe I'm pulling these down or pulling them up in the sequence just to recognize that these are some of the shots that I want to use and I want to add to this. At this point, now I can take this, drag it and drop, or I could do, you know, source record editing, whatever your preference working in Premiere. Premiere supports a wide variety of paradigms when it comes to your favorite way of editing. But now at this point, I've actually edited and made some changes to this sequence. Now I can choose to upload this. And in fact, if I have some comments here, I might want to, you know, come here to the end, add a marker. And at this point, I'll double click on the marker and just say, you know, check these shots, click OK. And at this point, if I want to upload this I can upload this back in. I can also take this and when I upload this, it will actually render out a file so that if somebody needs to look at this remotely, if they're working off of a web browser on a mobile device, they'd be able to actually see this sequence. They wouldn't be able to make any changes to it, obviously, without having Premiere, but they would at least have a rendered copy of it that they could use for review. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and share this back to the same sequence. In this case, I'm going to make a different name here. I'm going to call this Carl Edit 1, and we'll click Create New Sequence. And I'm also going to turn on timeline markers so that this could be used for review and approval. And at that point, I can go ahead and click Upload. And it's now rendering out a copy of this sequence for review and approval purposes, which again, going into Flow, it's going to give anybody the ability to look at this piece of rendered media from any device with a web browser. With that, let me turn things back over to Bayan.
So thanks, Carl. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen with you guys again. And you can see that if I load up that same Scuba project that Carl is just working in, the uploaded sequence that he was just working on is right here, available for me to preview that whole proxy timeline, right? And additionally, he did also add a review and approval marker, which you can see down here, which says, check these shots. And basically what you get here is a bit of a chat window that allows you to discuss the points on any particular marker on the timeline or sequence. And in this case, right, Carl's asking me to check the shot. And when I look at the shot, I say, it's a little bubbly, but it's fine, all right? Little blurry, but I think it's fine. But then I'm also going to request, approval from, let's say, a producer or someone else. What do you think, producer? I can spell producer. Now let's imagine the producer is still external back on the Airflow application. So if we jump back into the web browser, all right, and we're looking at that same Carl edit application and we come over to the markers here, you can see that same review and approval marker is available in our web interface with the options of, it's a little blurry, but I think it's fine. What do you think, producer? And now as the producer, I can come in here and say, make the logo bigger. All right, and I can go ahead and I can approve that asset, right? So you can see the review and approval workflow here. You can see the ability to collaborate across multiple people, across a wide variety of locations and applications and tools. I mean, it truly is remote, collaborative, high performance online editorial, right? So it's all of those pieces in one. And that's exactly what sort of Carl was suggesting before, in that what I can do on site here is basically the same as what he can do offsite there. There's no limitation to what Carl's doing as a remote editor versus what I'm doing as an online editor. And the producer can get involved as well. Thank you.
Excellent. It's great that we got that workflow done. And is the logo bigger yet? Bayan's going to drop off as he's got some other stuff to get done. And please get your questions ready. Kick them to us in the various chats in YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, LinkedIn. We'll get them all answered for you.
T-Code Media. Daily broadcast post-production. Keeping you ahead in technology.
All right, we showed off all this tech. So now let's talk about how the solution works. Bayan had to jump out to go do an install. One of our larger clients. We're exceedingly grateful. So joining us is Stephen Tallamy. He's the CTO with EditShare. He and Carl, and a little bit from me, we're going to try to answer any of the questions that have come up regarding the workflow. So let's jump into this. First of all, in what ways will the post-production process remain on-prem? Is hybrid workflow approach more realistic to the challenges with remote production today? What is the process you're encouraging for people who are looking to move their Adobe workflows to a hybrid model? Stephen, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly see a lot of our customers really wanting hybrid work. They want to work in a flexible way. They want to, work with teams that get together, because getting together is a great way of, collaborating. I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about that, but they want people to work together on that high speed and continue to use those things, but they want a bit more hybrid. So whilst we were all kind of forced into being very remote for a while, now people are sort of, well, actually great to get back together again. But there were a few bits of flexibility that we liked about that fully remote experience, and hence that kind of hybrid model. And I think what you would have seen, throughout the demonstration that Bayon gave you is there's sort of like you can start a piece in a fairly remote location, use your web-based tools, use your Airflows and stuff, and then continue in the panel. And it doesn't really matter whether you're attached to the storage or you're working in proxy. We've got that very simple way. It's the same experience, the same way of working, and you can kind of get most of your job done in either situation. And so for our position, that means you can really get the best of both worlds. You don't need to kind of say, well, it has to be all remote and completely, offline, and that way of working, which, can be complex and shuffling big drives around and all those things that come with that. But you can also have the benefits of that when you need it. So I think that's, from our perspective, a lot of our customers are looking for, okay, I liked the bit of flexibility, but I do want to work together as well together. So
your thoughts on the benefits?
Yeah, I definitely don't think we're going back to the traditional model of 5 days a week, making the commute, driving in and going to the edit bay and doing the work. I think, as Stephen mentioned, the collaborative component of being in the room together, I think still has a lot of merit and a lot of value. And when I've talked with Adobe customers, that's the thing everybody misses. Zoom calls are great. Other types of sharing online, we've proven that technology that you can get business done. But I think definitely from a creative standpoint, having a bunch of people in the room where you can see sort of the body language and the tension that might, a director might be looking at a scene, and, an editor that has a good working rapport with that person, can immediately see that the director, is having questions about this scene and can start making some mental notes on some changes that he can present as a possibility. And I think we miss out on that. But the fact of the matter is, when you're not collaborating, why am I driving the distance and going in the office? You need to have the flexibility to, just get up in your bathrobe and fire up the edit bay and at your house and get the job done. And I think that's where hybrid really gives the best of both worlds.
You're going to be on Zoom, at least put on a nice shirt, please. Stephen, do you have any customer examples of this kind of workflow?
Yeah, I mean, so here in the UK, we work with the National Film and Television School, so they're one of our major customers, and I think they really appreciate that. What's always interesting about the film schools is that they kind of really looking at the next way of working, how the new generation of editors are wanting to work. And again, they were very much in the kind of view that they love that kind of collaborative aspect of it. I think, it's almost like you can have a glance at somebody and they go, yeah, I know what to fix now. Like, you don't need to do anything. But they were saying to us, look, it really is great to have that ability to do that and then go home and have some flexibility to kind of kick off a render job or kick off something and then see it when you get home, and you don't have to stay there and wait for those sort of kind of tasks. So they were really appreciating that kind of flexibility, that they don't have to. I mean, National Film and Television School, their whole curriculum is oriented around creating that experience where people can come together and collaborate together because they believe in great creativity, but they do know that that benefit that they can reach people remotely and make some of their courses more accessible as well, because, not everyone has the ability to go to those facilities and be in that place, but they can learn some of the elements and collaborate with each other remotely. So I think that is a really good representation of what I think the future workforce is going to want out of these types of solutions.
And only so many people can fit on the couch in the edit bay anyway. So I know some of this was in Bayon's demo earlier. What's EditShare been up to make hybrid workflows a reality for teams that are using Adobe's Creative Cloud tools? What are the limitations today, and where's the future roadmap going to take us?
Yeah, I mean, we're heavily investing in that sort of panel infrastructure. One of the things that we just want people to be able to do is just continue to use their edit tool as if we were almost invisible, not totally, but you kind of want Edit Share to kind of get out of the way of the storage and those things. When you need to use them, great. But when you're actually in the edit, we just want to have that really fluid experience. And so we've, made a massive improvement to our panel in the last couple of years, and we continue to work on improving it. One of the most important things is, once you've selected that material, so if you've built up that sort of little project inside of Flow, you've done your sort of remote kind of things. So I think we were using the scuba footage, and you're building that little project together. Then being able to pick that up straight away as fast as possible once you arrive into your NLE is really where we want to do. So we're quite excited about. There's some really nice beta improvements that are coming on the Adobe side that we're really excited about. One, Adobe just continues to really focus on performance, and we really appreciate that, because the quicker you get into the edit, the quicker you're productive. And so, there's a lot of really good things in the beta, some background import functionality and stuff, so that when you bring stuff from the panel, it will just be there and ready to go, and ready to start working with. We're really excited about those kind of things, because from our perspective, that's really interesting. I think also, Adobe's just scratched the surface of transcription. I'm very excited about sort of these AI technologies. There's some really good features there right now on sort of being able to do a transcription of a full timeline. But I think what we're always interested in is using it, as part of the discovery process, finding stuff like we're always saying, well, I just want to kind of edit this together, this documentary, and I need to find the pieces of the documentary where somebody said a particular thing. That's a use case that a lot of our customers are wanting to do. And so we want to provide that kind of seamless kind of clip level transcription between us, and then handing that. So once you're in the Adobe environment, you see all those transcription markers, you see all of that kind of stuff. It's, again, a seamless transition between the two of those. So we're excited also about those kind of interactions we can do with those AI tools from our side. So you can get it prepped, AI done in the background with Edit Share, and controlling the APIs, and then as soon as you hit the edit, it's all there and ready to go.
Oh, we just heard about speech to text, and that's the hot new thing from you guys. How does that work into all of this, and how does that help out being able to pass metadata back and forth?
Well, it's a fundamental technology that we have added to Premiere. Obviously right now we've focused the technology in one particular area that we saw a lot of people asking about, which is, the initial search for different words and things within the transcription, and making open captioning much more easy and accessible. But you have to understand that, it's a core thing at Adobe. It's a core value at Adobe to try and find ways to leverage Adobe Sensei, machine learning technology, to keep people in the creative flow more and get all the mundane stuff out of the way. We've had metadata fields floating around in various applications for many, many years. But at the end of the day, who's going to sit and type all of that in? If we can continue down that path where we can do things like look at a transcription and maybe from that transcription figure out that this is a two-shot that's taking place in Los Angeles or New York or wherever, based on the spoken word in the clip, and then automatically start providing tagging to those clips, it's going to create a richer experience. It's going to be easier to find what you're looking for.
So, Carl, speaking from a historical perspective, in the early years, Premiere Pro moved like lightning into promo departments. How has the Adobe Premiere team evolved the product to become the preferred editing software across quite a few genres of post-production? You must have a front row seat to all of these creative teams that are using Premiere. How have you seen these teams collaboratively pushing Premiere into this next level?
Well, definitely, promo was a source of strength, and in fact, I'm relatively new to working and living in this market. I was based in Singapore for a big portion of the 2010s. Actually knew Bayan. He and I shared a stage across Southeast Asia, showing off Edit Share and Premiere solutions going back. I arrived on the scene in 2016, and the first customers that I was meeting were a lot of the promo houses. But we have an established team here, and we've really tried to focus a lot of things in Premiere with our film engagement team that have to do with making editors comfortable, making sure that the software gets out of the way. Some of this has to do with adapting to different styles of editors. You know, some editors are very source record driven, some prefer multiple sequences open and they're drag and drop versus keyboard shortcuts. There's all different styles. There's no one style that is, you know, the ultimate be all end all styles, be all end all editing style. And we want to make sure Premiere is flexible enough to, you know, have best in class performance in all of that. But most importantly, you know, if I were to sum it up, I'd just say listening to editors, you know, being able to go into the various guilds, the various groups of people, and really understanding what their needs are, and trying to adapt Premiere to that. And definitely, since I've been here, I've seen a large growth in some of these other markets, from, you know, sports, news, but also specifically features and episodics. We've really started to move into that space as well.
And I can add to that just a little bit as well. You know, I think we're finding that you know, the much more tight integration that we can do with Adobe because of the open APIs and because of our collaboration. It's meaning that it's very easy for us to do. You know, a lot of people are going, oh, I really want to do an edit while capture type of solution, and I want that to work with proxies as well, and I want it with multi-channel audio and ... And so we found that, you know, that's allowing us to open up a lot of opportunities into different types of editorial, because we can make sure that when it arrives on the edit chair, whether it's through our own ingest solution or it's through a third party, we've got that format correct. We've got all those, you know, codecs lined up. You know, our proxies, I think Bayon may have shown you, we've got different types of proxies. So if you do have more complex audio layouts, we can generate those as well. So from our perspective, it means that you can do, again, this entire hybrid environment with complexities of multi-channel audio and edit while capture and all of those things, and you can do them either on premise in your facility or as a remote technician. I think that is very, very valuable in terms of, you know, the ongoing improvements we're seeing.
I'm sorry, Jeff. Just to reiterate, the whole nature of the panel architecture in Premiere is what allows people to build out a complete solution, build out a full workflow. You know, at Adobe, we're focused on the software, but software is not the entire picture. You know, you need to think about all the various bits and pieces, and then you have to put them together into a cohesive whole. So that's where, you know, our relationship with KeyCode is so important, to make sure that we have somebody who can kind of craft that out. And then our partnerships with companies like EditShare, and the fact that you guys have done an amazing job building that panel out in Premiere, it creates a seamless experience for the editor, so that, you know, they're not learning a bunch of new different, you know, I've got to go out of my editing software to go do something else. In a lot of cases, they can just stay right there and get everything done.
And the whole point of technological evolution in this space is to just simply make it simpler to tell the story. I mean, I remember
Absolutely.
Years ago, I had a panel. It was about this big. It was made by Sony. It was called an RM440. It helped me tell the story, but there's a lot easier ways now to tell the story. It certainly didn't do transcription at all. Let's get into network considerations when you're talking about hybrid. So one of the advantages of hybrid workflows is you still have the option for people to be local if they need to work on high-res material, while editors at home are going to be working on proxy. What's your recommendation at facility and home for internet bandwidth and firewall setup, that sort of fun stuff?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, the proxies that we work with can be very, very lightweight. You know, very easy to stream over a very modest bandwidth. Like you could be in a fairly, you know, in a coffee shop or on a 3G connection. Those kind of things, you know, they're relatively lightweight, and you can get your work done very quickly. So I wouldn't say there's any particular, you know, complex requirements there. Obviously, if you're going to want to move the high res around, then yeah, that's a different thing. But again, the whole point of this hybrid workflow is ideally you shouldn't need to move the high resolution around. It can stay where it is and you know, get rendered remotely. We can very easily do all your remote edit in proxy and then hand it off to a media encoder that's on premise, and just get that to do all the work for you. So I would say it's very, very modest bandwidth requirements. And again, firewall setup is is pretty simple as well. I mean, depending on the way you want to kind of do this, you can either poke a simple hole in your firewall to open an HTTP access into Airflow. It's all secured, so it's all, proper HTTPS certificates, all of the good things that you'd want. So it's very, very easy to set up if you want to go down that route. Or you can set up a simple VPN as well. Again, this will flow, again, very easily over a very modest VPN. You don't need to have a high spec one. So either of those, it sort of depends on the customer as to which one of those options is going to work for them. The VPN, can add an additional layer of, a second layer of security. But from our perspective, it's all SSL encrypted either way anyway, so it doesn't really matter which way. So relatively straightforward on the setup, and that I think makes it very simple for teams to just get going with this.
And from a home perspective, I would just say, it's been common practice to have kind of a hard line connected to your edit bay just to make sure that you're getting constant data rate. Honestly, I'm breaking that rule today. I've found that on a lot of the mesh routers that you can get, I've got 3 of those little circular pucks from Google. Is what I use as a router at home. And with a mesh router and the ability to prioritize a specific device so that, my teenage daughter, can't start, purchasing games on Steam or something and downloading massive files in the other room.
Yeah, the network considerations, that's one of the things that we at KeyCode have been working on with remote and hybrid workflows since all of this started just a little bit over 2 years ago. So if you need help with firewalls, that sort of stuff, we can definitely help you out there. We have a whole IT services team now that can address some of those issues here at KeyCode. All right, it's time to get out the crystal ball. What do you think is going to change in the next, let's call it 5 years, when it comes to on-prem workflows? Now, the 5-year question is always fun in today's day and age, because you ask people what they thought they were going to be doing 5 years ago, they would have no way of saying that they would have, been through what we've been through in the last 2 years. Carl, let's start with you. Where do you think things are going to be in the mid-future?
Well, I think what you're going to see is an evolution of the quality of the on-premise edit suite. I think from a twofold perspective, as these hybrid workflows evolve, I think more and more people are going to want to edit from home and avoid the commute. But if you can entice them to come into the office with a really nice space, not have screaming children in the background, you're going to continue to get people coming in. And the other thing is, I think every edit suite, you're going to have it ready for review, on-premise review, because I think that is going to be the key component to having everybody come in once or twice a week to do those types of review sessions. And you're going to want to have people be comfortable. So if you've got little tiny edit bays right now, start thinking about how you can blow those walls out and kind of make for larger, less suites, but larger suites that have more appeal and are more comfortable.
No barking dogs, and probably better food service. That's one of the draws of being in the office.
Absolutely.
Stephen, thoughts on the next half decade for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see continuing that, bringing the powers of cloud types of technologies integrated to wherever you are. So when you're on premise, having, we've got AI technology today that does transcription and other things, but the ability to sort of funnel some of those kind of big data technologies for you to kind of better optimize. You said it at the very beginning, like we just want to make storytelling simple. And so if we can kind of learn more about what's going on in the production process, and we see where things are inefficient because we've got the data flowing, because that's the aim, if we can get the metadata and the video flowing, then it's kind of you're kind of just going to dip in and out of it, and you won't really know there's a cloud maybe in the back end of some of those things that is aggregating all that data. Certainly, I wouldn't recommend people setting up big data farms in their facilities. Go use the cloud for that, because that's the easy way of going and doing it. But I think this kind of hybrid model where you utilize those things yet still be able to use that facility, I think that is a really good balancing point for people to have, again, the best of both worlds, the best of that kind of hybrid and remote, but the best of also enabling the power of the cloud, but bringing it so that it can also work against your on-prem facilities as well. And I think that is going to be a key for everyone to be able to do their storytelling easier.
I still think that's the key, making the storytelling easy and making the infrastructure transparent to the creative. I think at the end of the day, the creative folks, it doesn't really matter to them where their stuff is, as long as they're able to get to it and get the work done and be, the most productive and the most creative they can be. I think one of the pieces that will be of very big importance will be convertible workflows, where I can maybe have an extremely powerful, smaller, or even a laptop-based system at home that's connected to my stuff there. But I can take the centralized, basically a mobile desktop out, take it to an office, plug it in, and I still have the same office experience. Those folks aren't going to care where the media is, as long as they can get to it in the easiest way possible. Not all editors are going to be, concerned about the technical side of it. The codec means less to them than the story. So making sure that we get this figured out by the end of Act 2, that's what they like. All right. I think we've run out of questions here. So, gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. If there's any questions anybody has in the future about EditShare or workflows or Adobe and that sort of fun stuff, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can still put questions in the chat. We'll answer them after the live portion is over and get information back to you. And if you need to see a demonstration of EditShare and its capabilities, on a one-on-one, please reach out to us at Keycode Media, and we will get that set up for you. Thanks everybody for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bye.
Thanks for watching Broadcast to Post. Please make sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive future episodes. Follow Keycode Media on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram to receive news on additional AV, broadcast, and post-production technology content. See you next time, folks.